It seems like it's already been a very long year. We've had, what, 2 government shutdowns already? Not to mention the letdown of the Vikings yet again when we were so close this time. And this winter has just been, ugh. Maybe we need a trip to the Bahamas or something to take in that pristine coastline and dive into that clear blue water. Definitely not the quality of Mina Lake or the shoreline of James River. I can tell you right now, those waters are a little murkier than an island resort. But this does beg the question. What can South Dakota do to better protect its waters and create that picture-perfect image? If we play our cards right, there's a chance we can bring the luxurious look of the Bahama waters right here to South Dakota. So first, let's examine what the problems are with South Dakota's watersheds, and then let's look at how these problems can be remedied. Before we hop off to create our own South Dakota paradise, there's a few things we need to understand about South Dakota's watersheds. According to the Environmental Protection Agency's 2016 data, over 90% of South Dakota's waters haven't been assessed at all. And of the 5,800 miles that has been assessed, 78% of this water was found to be impaired, meaning that it failed to meet the water quality standards for the people of South Dakota. Not a sunny situation. A main way in which we discover how much of a pollutant that a watershed can sustain is through a measurement called the TMDL, or Total Maximum Daily Load. But in our state, less than a fourth of this data has actually been completed. In fact, in Brown County, where I live, there hasn't been a single TMDL assessment on the Upper James watershed, despite the fact that the Clean Water Act of 1972 has required states to perform these assessments. So, then what is the result of these lapses in regulation and assessment? Well, according to the New York Times, there's been over 500 cases of water pollution in South Dakota alone over the past 20 years. 500 too many. From national monuments like Mount Rushmore to native reservations such as Pine Ridge, water pollution is an impact that affects all the people of South Dakota in one way or another. Okay, so maybe then this whole Bahamas of the Midwest idea isn't turning out so hot. Regardless of the other issues, which we're just going to ignore for now, there's no way we can turn South Dakota into a tropical resort without that picture-perfect water you see in the movies. Though I suppose there are some methods that South Dakota could employ to improve its watersheds. First and foremost, we need government action. The South Dakota legislature took a step in the right direction when they lowered taxes on farmers who planted buffer strips. But unfortunately, few farmers actually took part in this program. Thus, more funding is going to be needed to get projects like this going so we can actually incentivize these landowners to adopt practices that benefit our watersheds, whether it be by putting wells in their pastures or by fencing off creeks. But we should also work to increase those TMDL assessments, that measurement I was talking about earlier, because those reports not only tell us what pollutants are in the water, but also what the breaking point is before the amount of pollution in the water becomes an environmental emergency. In fact, collecting more data in general will help us learn how to better manage our watersheds while also adding jobs to South Dakota's economy. But another great preventative measure is through the use of buffer strips. Riparian buffers are vegetated areas located along streams that help keep away outside contaminants. Nutrient strips perform a similar function, though they are particularly used to prevent nutrients runoff. Lastly, shelter belts have also proven effective in stopping soil from getting in the water while also providing a great habitat for wildlife. Currently, many of our shelter belts in South Dakota are reaching the end of their lifespan, which makes it imperative that we replace them as soon as possible. But a last message I want to send to all of you is that of education. Many kids, and well, many adults, unfortunately, wouldn't be able to answer the question, how does your watershed? Because, well, they'd be a little bit too busy asking, what's a watershed? By educating these kids, adults, and especially even politicians about the problems and potential solutions to our water problems, we'll be able to better face these issues in the future with more confidence. When people know about our water's impairments and the insufficient testing, it becomes easier to work towards those solutions, like government action, research, and buffer strips. Maybe by then we'll even be able to turn South Dakota into a blooming Bahamas. Wouldn't that be the day? and then we can all dive in the water, whether it's a lake, stream, or dugout, and take that well-deserved summer break. Because after all, it's been a long year, and the water, well, it's looking just fine. Thank you.